What's up? What's up, bitches? We have such a fun episode because I'm not leaving you hanging. When we said that we were going to come back and do a part two, we meant it. So, back with me today is Alayna Hester from Tell Me Lies and Dopesick.
Hi. I'm glad to
Thank
be
you.
back again.
Yeah, I can't believe that we both had the time to do this and that it worked out so well. And like I said in the prior episode, so if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen. But essentially, there was too much good stuff left to get into that we hadn't gotten into yet, and I just wanted to make sure we saved time for that.
Cool.
And
Let's do
also,
it.
whenever I get the opportunity to have someone's ear more than once, I feel like I walk away almost like with a friend. Like I feel like I
Aw.
know you. So that's super nice that I get to do that with you.
Yeah, I love that. You're so fun. This is so
Aw.
fun. Let's do it.
Good. So we have the energy going. So in our last episode, we ended talking a little bit about how big of an honor it was, obviously, to work alongside Katie Seagal in Tell Me Lies, and then you worked with Michael Keaton in completely opposite roles for Dopesick.
Correct.
So, what is it like to work alongside someone like Michael Keaton in Dopesick, who basically has the ability to play a part that well?
Um, it was it was phenomenal. Like, first of all, Danny Strong, our showrunner on Dopesick, he he really took a chance on me. Because at that point I was not known in the industry. I'd not had a name. I worked really hard, but I was not known. I hadn't really done anything. And so he took a huge risk by hiring me when he could have easily hired someone with a bigger name. But I I'm so grateful that he trusted me with the like the responsibility that not only comes along with telling that intense of a story and that important of a story, but also trusted me to do that with Michael Keaton. That was such a big honor to me, not only that I got to work with him, but that they trusted me to do that, even though, I hadn't really had a name in the industry prior.
And for people who aren't familiar, let's just give them a brief background without sort of spoiling the series as to how would you describe Dopesick to people who haven't seen it?
So Dopesick depicts the opioid crisis and the corruption in the marketing and distribution of OxyContin by the Sackler family. And I play. It's essentially a story of the sort of corporate side of it, and the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma, and the corruption there, and just really diving inside the minds of the villains, and pinpointing the start of the problem, and then showing the effects in the smaller towns of more rural country areas where they were specifically targeting doctors and patients that would take the medication, get addicted, distribute it to their friends. They specifically targeted certain areas that they knew it would do well in, and then gave false information, like going up to a higher dose would not cause withdrawals if you were to come off of it, and it wouldn't be bad for you. It's not addicting. It's non addictive, and basically just showing that side of the people in charge, and then showing the complete opposite side of the people that affected, and portraying a story. The corporate people, they were portraying real corporate people, but as far as my character and the people that were affected by that, in the smaller rural towns, we're playing fictional characters, but the story underneath it is very real. So my character is Elizabeth Ann. She's a small town 14-year-old innocent girl with pigtails. The first time you see her, she's crying to Michael's character, Dr. Phoenix, about why she can't get her period yet. And then you cut to a scene later in the episode where it's just, she's like 21 at that point, or 20, something like that. She's strung out, passed out in a car, prostituting herself, basically.
Right.
So the stark contrast of that was sort of to, like, the beginning goal was to get people hooked to her and sort of like fall in love with this innocent little girl, and then be like shocked by this crazy way that she ended up, and then like be like, how did she get there? And so like she started off young, innocent, and then throughout the series we sort of see her progression and her downfall, her getting addicted to OxyContin, and then that leading her into heroin and homelessness and prostitution, and then watching her go through rehab, and you know, Michael's character, Dr. Phoenix, their relationship, and how he feels sort of responsible for her going down this path, and then his trying to help her get out of it. It was a really, really heartbreaking story, but it was so, I think the writing and the production, everything about it was very powerful.
It was such a moving series. I didn't understand how things escalated the way they did with opioids. You know, like I'm older than you, so in my high school, I have heard of people getting addicted to OxyContin and stuff before. Mm-hmm. So kind of listening to how that happened and uncovering the involvement that like big companies have was very eye-opening. And I especially felt for the doctor in the series because truthfully, like, he was at fault. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it sucks that he was the hand that gave them that, or, you know, for some of the people in the show. And then you have to come to terms with, I didn't know what I was doing or the magnitude of what this could end up in. Did you know anything about this opioid crisis prior to getting, like, casted on the show?
Yeah, so I didn't know the full extent of it, and I don't think any of us did. Like, even Michael, Michael and I both sort of discovering together just how bad it was and the magnitude of this sort of corruption. Like, we knew that this was happening, but I don't think any of us, until we put ourselves in that and had to stay in that for months, none of us truly understood the extent of that. But I did grow up in a small town where addiction is prevalent, very prevalent. And a few days before my audition for the show, actually, a close friend of mine relapsed. So it was, you know, a very personal story for me because I know so many people that have dealt with that. And my parents also own the pharmacy in our small town. So they've had to deal with the effects of the opioid crisis and of, like, Purdue Pharma. And my parents have been, in whatever way they can, they've been pushing back against that for as long as I can remember. You know, they would always talk about it. I didn't realize the full extent of it. And my mom is actually on, like, the head board of the opioid crisis commission in our county. And so it's just like it was the perfect sort of fit. It was a very much a passion project for me.
And it comes across that way, too, when you watch it. Like, it was such a, absolutely. It was such a heavy series to watch and to get through. But I think that for people who are listening and wondering, you know, what is the extent of Purdue Pharma, not to ruin the series, but giving a breakdown, essentially, these drugs were given to doctors by tricking them, by essentially taking the doctors out for nice lunches, by paying them a higher salary, by bribing them and by giving them, fake FDA labels and studies that were skewed to show them that if your patients take this, there's absolutely no way that they will get addicted. And they knew that research was fake, the head of the companies. And I think that the realization that you can be so evil just for profit was like a huge takeaway of the show.
Yes, yes, and I think our the people that played the villains in our story, I think they did a really great job. Like Michael Stahlberg, who played Richard Sackler, he did a phenomenal job diving inside the mind of the Sackler head, the head of the Sackler army. Like
Absolutely.
I think that was a very powerful performance in the worst way possible.
Agreed. If I hadn't just prior, and you've probably not seen this because you're always so busy, but if I hadn't just prior watched a series that was exploiting companies like McDonald's, Wendy's, and Pizza Hut for back in the 90s, when they used to have this thing happen where this guy was able to call restaurants in small communities where he knew that people were impressionable, they responded to authority, they respected what they were told to do. He would call these industries and he would describe any random girl who worked there and say that she stole something from a patron, and he would pose as law enforcement, and he would force the managers verbally to assault these women. Like,
Wow.
so strip searches. Some men did go so far as to perform oral sex on them. Like
Oh
they,
my God.
so hearing that, I watched the series about it, and you find out at the very end that McDonald's, Wendy's, they had every case logged. They had every single record of employees that it happened to, and it's all suppressed to protect your image, so like it opened my eyes, like right before watching this, like companies are so evil, and they really do select such sparse information that gets released to the public just to protect their conscience, their image, their liability. So once I watched this series right after, I was like, you know what? The big corporations are actually so scary. Like those are
Yeah.
the scariest individuals.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true, and it's so scary how they know what areas to target and they take advantage of it, and it works. And they see that it works, so they keep using that system. And it's not all big corporations, but I think that I'm so glad that our voices are able to be heard now, and we're able to push back against the ones that we see are doing bad. No matter how much they try to keep it locked up, somebody's going to speak about it. and,
Absolutely.
and if we all join in, they can't backlash all of us. And I something that was so incredible for me after Dopesick, I was invited to give a speech in front of the CDC on behalf of Dopesick, and talk about the importance of our message and talk about the show and my experience on the show. And there was somebody present at this meeting from every single department of the CDC. Like, this was a huge opportunity that made me want to cry, honestly, because I was just like, I put all this work into my craft, and it's making a difference in the real world right in front of my eyes. Like, I have an outlet to express my voice, and people want to hear my voice. Like, it was such a crazy moment for me.
Okay, Miss Greta Thunberg, you are like, I can't. That is so cool. You're like basically going to Congress. You're so awesome. Like that really is amazing. That makes me want to cry. Like the fact that it was something that some people can just play a role and move on. Not every person has such a connection to what they're doing, but the fact that after you took it, you acknowledged and tried to serve a bigger purpose and really talk about it. And like you said, your family like owns like a pharmacy. I mean, this couldn't be more close to like
Yeah.
hitting home for you, and like you truly understand the gravity of what people's lives look like, or and
Yeah.
your family does too, when what can happen.
Yeah, and it was so wild. I didn't find out until after I was done with my meeting that Danny Strong, our showrunner for Dopesick, was actually speaking in front of Congress, on the same day at the same time.
Oh
It,
my gosh.
yeah, I found out afterwards, and so I sent him a link to a recording of the meeting, and I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe we both did this on the same day. Like it's so crazy. Like I've thanked him so many times for giving me a platform, not only like giving me the opportunity to kickstart my career, but also be a part of a movement that has been like, our show has gotten a lot of recognition around the world. Like, once our show came out, we started seeing the Sackler name being taken down in museums all across the world. And you know, people protesting and using their voices, telling their story, going to Congress, having meetings with the CDC, like all these things that we saw unfold afterwards. And then also the recognition for, you know, the all the work that everybody put into this show. Everybody put so much work into this show, and everybody had such a passion for it. So seeing not only the material of it making an impact, but also just the art of it, the acting, the cinematography, the writing, the storyline, everything about it pretty much was recognized with, you know, we were nominated for 14 Emmy Awards. We were nominated for some Golden Globes, Critics' Choice Awards, SAG Award, like, you know, just all this crazy stuff that, like, it was so powerful, I think, to all of us, because it showed us that we can make a story that's real and that we're passionate about, and it can still be appreciated in the art form as well. Like,
Absolutely. Like, this is a reality podcast, but I found myself enjoying it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that if it's a message that people need to hear, and if it's done well, that when you watch it, you have no choice but to pay attention. And I think that that's exactly how Dopesick was done. Like, as soon as I started and realized that it was about the Sackler family and like Purdue Pharma, I was locked in, because I was just wanting to know, how did it get here? You know, like, how did we get here as a country? Like, how did it become so prevalent, and who started this? And that's kind of what the show gives you.
Yeah, and I think also, like what you're saying about being locked in, I think that was our goal. With the reason I think that this was not talked about as much before is because it wasn't done in a format that people were interested in.
Absolutely.
Like making this into a series that has a storyline that you can follow and you're invested in and you keep coming back to. It's not just a documentary, you know? Like, I think that was such a brilliantly done thing by Danny, to create something that people want to keep watching in order to better get the message out there.
What is it like to work on a show that's this heavy? You know, because it was heavier than Tell Me Lies. So how do you guys as a cast decompress after, you know, doing a long day of filming?
I mean, this was one of the most intense roles, like mentally and physically, like that you can put yourself in, like that I've put myself in. There's, you know, there's a whole spectrum of like dark roles, but this is one of the darkest places that I've had to go to during my career. And I think all of us just kept the motivation going and lit a fire under each other with the passion that everybody on that set brought to the project. Like, everybody had so much energy for this, regardless of the material that was being filmed, because we all knew what the end goal was. We all knew that this was, you know, a passion project, and that kept us going. But Elizabeth Ann's story was definitely, it was very real for me, because with everything that we talked about in the last podcast, when I got sick when I was 15, I was on a lot of painkillers, and whenever I had to come off of those, I went through withdrawals, and that was one of the worst feelings ever, like just constant unwavering pain. And that's like a pain that's so hard to describe unless you've been through it. And I never really knew how to put it into words, but Elizabeth Ann gave me an outlet to express that without words. Like, it gave me an outlet to express how I felt in a way that can help other people or make other people feel more seen that have also gone through withdrawals or are going through withdrawals right now or are scared of them. Like, it gives them hope that they can make it out on the other side. And that was really powerful in not only like helping tell the story, but also helping myself heal in a way, I think, because it's just not many people understand that pain, that specific pain, and it gave me an outlet to express that, which I'm really grateful for. And you asked how we sort of decompressed at the end of the day. I mean, I think Michael and I sort of kept each other sane. Like, we, you know, everything we filmed together was very heavy, and the relationship was so special but so intense, and there was so much like history there for us, and just so much happening underneath the surface for both of our characters, and then they come together, and it's this like clash of emotions, and like these are, you know, two people that have always felt safe with each other, even though they're, you know, the age difference is vast, but they feel safe with each other, and they're sort of in this world that's collapsing, but they're still trying to help each other or be there for each other. But even with that sort of content, like when the camera was off, like between takes, we'd cut up with each other, and we kept ourselves entertained, but I think we also kept the crew entertained. Like, they just like listen to us through our microphones. We'd forget that our mics were on, and we'd just be talking about something stupid. And then every once in a while, one of the crew members would like interject through the walkie-talkie, like laughing, and we'd be like, "Oh, sorry." So that was
the comedic relief.
Yeah. It was nice. Like, we all had like everybody meshed really well, and so we were able to help each other. With getting through the day, even though it was very tough. I think the hardest, like the toughest thing for me to film was the sequence that starts off episode 4, where my character watches her best friend die of an overdose. Like, that was such an intense scene / sequence, like a sequence of scenes to film, and we filmed those scenes until I think we started at 5 in the afternoon, and then we went all the way through 6 in the morning. So
my gosh,
we were no sleep, just straight going at it, and it was so intense, and like that's the sequence where you see my character's downfall start. That's where like it all started for her. So that was a very important sequence, but it was so heavy, and like I'm normally good at, you know, after the camera's cut, I can recover pretty quickly. I'm pretty good at being able to bring myself out of it and stay contained and stuff, but like this sequence in particular was so heavy. It took a while to recover afterwards, and I would honestly just like I would just have to, my crewmates were patient with me while I just like cried or did whatever I needed to do in order
Right.
to compose myself to keep going. And like, because it was so it was so magnificently done by everyone involved, and it felt so real.
Right.
Like it was very real. And so like my castmates that I was working with that night, they just like held my shoulder until I was ready to go again, and then it's like, all right, let's do it again. Roll the cameras,
Right.
and it was a lot, but we got through it together.
Especially since prior to this show you had a friend relapse. It's just a little bit like seeing the situation happen at like the worst way possible, like your worst nightmare unfold in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
So I completely get that. And you did mention the fact that, you know, like everything you went through when you were 14 and 15, we haven't even talked about the fact that like after you started to heal from that, which is, the stage that you were at, because to go through withdrawal, that's traumatic in its own way. I haven't been through it, but I've heard enough about it to know that if you're able to make it on the other side and not stay addicted to it, that's like a very harrowing experience to have. So after filming, you got sick again. And, we haven't talked about that yet, me and you either. So what happened after Dopesick? You got some sort of cancer.
Yeah, so I developed it while I was filming. I just didn't know what it was yet. So I developed thyroid cancer, and I'm not sure how long particularly that I had it before, but while filming Dopesick, I was pretty sick. I was relatively sick. Like we were filming all that heavy material, but then on top of that, I was physically sick as well, and I didn't know what was wrong with me at that point. I didn't really want to face the fact that I felt out of control of my body again and my health. I didn't like, I was on such a massive high filming this show with all the people, the amazing people that I got to work with, and like, my career is getting started, and I'm just so pumped for that. I was like, no, nothing's wrong. I'm okay. I'll be fine. I'll
Little
go to
bit
a
of
doctor when I get
denial.
home. Yeah, and so when I was filming, like I was still in denial, but the wardrobe team was having to like strap heating packs to my stomach, like underneath my wardrobe, like I'd keep it on while filming just to get me through the day. And like I had this like weird texture on my skin that like the makeup team had to cover up, and I'd get weak and dizzy, and just like all this stuff that I was not willing to accept was happening. And then I'd go back to the hotel room after I finished filming, and keep in mind we're in quarantine for like the entire series, so like I'm not with my family. I'm in a hotel room by myself. Like I am, they brought me out to Virginia, and they kept me there in a room, and that was just how we had to do it for the sake of the show continuing on, so nobody got sick, because at that time vaccines weren't readily available. Like it was just, that was right in the heat of COVID, so I was also isolated, sort trying to deal with this stuff. And so I would go back to the hotel room, and I'd sit down, I'd watch the room spin, and I'd call my mom and just cry because I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I don't want to feel sick right now. Like
Right.
that's not what I want to happen. And so that was a lot, but I didn't see a doctor until I got home. Number one, because I didn't want to know what was wrong with me yet, and then number two, because I was scared of like at that time, if you went to a doctor's office, you're putting yourself at risk of getting COVID.
Right.
And I didn't want to put the production at risk. So there was a
Right.
lot of factors going into that COVID made very difficult. But when I got home, my parents were like, we'll take you to get some tests done, because I'd never had panic attacks before, like really ever in my life, and then all of a sudden I was having so many of them, like I didn't know that it was a panic attack because I had never experienced that before. And I was just like sitting in my room, like talking to someone, and then all of a sudden I can't breathe. I feel like I'm dying. I'm laying in my parents' bed, not knowing what's happening to me. And it just kept happening. And I was like, I don't know what this is. And my mom was like, I think you're having a panic attack. But like, why? Because like this has never happened to you before. And so we got some tests done, but we thought it was going to be something with an easy fix, like this blood level is off, your iron's too low or something, like your
vitamin B,
hemoglobin, I don't know. Like we thought it was going to be something like easy to fix. So we got some tests done, and then a couple weeks, let's see, it's probably about a month after I got home from filming Dopesick was when I got the diagnosis. So I was just sitting in my room getting ready to start the day, and I had just had a great night talking with my cousins the night before and cutting up, and then I wake up that morning ready to go, and I'm getting ready, whatever, and then I get a call from the doctor, and I'd been waiting on the results of my biopsy in my neck, but the chances of it actually being cancer are like 0.5%, so I don't know what the actual percentage is, but it's very low. And so I was like, oh, hi. And then they were like, so we need to see you in the office today. And I was like, well, can you, like, what were the results of my, why do you need to see me? And she was like, we legally can't tell you until you get here. And I was like, okay. So I called my friend Ashley. I didn't know what to do with myself, because my doctor had told me, if we call you and we don't tell you the results over the phone, that's telling you what the results are.
Right.
And so I called my parents. I was like, we gotta go back to Wilmington. And they were both at work, but they dropped everything they were doing. Like, they were like, okay, we'll figure it out. We're coming. Let's go to the doctor and just see what they have to say. And like, that was such a pivotal moment in my mind, because I just felt like I have already been through the ringer. Like, this is a kicker, man. Like, don't like
really?
Yeah, like I feel like I'm losing control of everything again, and my career is just picking up. Like, I just finished filming. So I mean, my thyroid had cancer in both sides. It's like a butterfly shape in your neck. Everybody get your necks checked. That's like
the overall message.
Yeah, if you don't know about thyroid cancer, just do a quick search, do a quick check. Keep yourself in check, because it is
Did you have symptoms? Like, did you have the swelling? Did you have anything?
No, I just had the physical symptoms. And what's weird is that my doctors have all told me thyroid cancer doesn't really cause physical symptoms until you like get it, like, and then you have to deal with the stuff after. And I'm like, no, it does. It very clearly, and all the other people that have like reached out to me that also have thyroid cancer, like, we're dealing with that, like, every single person had almost the exact same symptoms that I had. And so I'm like, there's a pattern here. And even if doctors, don't want to acknowledge that right now, like, this is very real. So I think like a big message is listen to your body. And if nobody else takes you seriously, take yourself seriously. And thankfully I had really really great doctors. My endocrinologist, Dr. Azizi, was great about finding the cancer and, recommending the right treatments and everything. And he found it in both sides, but it had also spread around it. So it had gotten to the point where it was in both sides of my thyroid, and it had spread to the lymph nodes around it in my neck. And we didn't know where else it could be. So I get a surgery done, and they remove my entire thyroid, and they remove the lymph nodes around it that they can without like cutting my windpipe. Like, they remove whatever lymph nodes they can, and just pray that the rest don't have anything in it. And so I had that done, and they had to. I think a very, very scary part about this was, okay, well, number one, the shallow concern, a big old scar on my neck with me being on camera. Makeup artists cover that up, whatever. It looked a lot worse
still
before, but it's still, it's a lot for a 19-year-old.
And it's like self-preservation and vanity, just normal. I don't want to look like that.
Yeah. And then there was the other part, which was they had to dissect around my vocal cords. So if one thing gets nicked, my voice is different. That's my career, Like, it was so terrifying that I literally could not do anything about it. And my entire career felt like it was at stake. And it was like after everything that I went through, this is happening again, and it's happening like this feels worse. Like what is this? So I got the surgery done, and then I don't have a thyroid anymore, so I rely on one little pill every morning to keep me alive, to replicate the function of my thyroid. And I have to take other medicines that I'll be on for the rest of my life, and there are symptoms that linger from that. And
absolutely.
And even once you've jumped the biggest hurdle, there's still things that you have to monitor. Doctor's visits, certain like blood levels will always be a little wonky, and you'll always have to find the balance of leveling those out, and some of those things can get pretty intense. Like my calcium levels, if those get too low, I have full body spasms, and I feel like I live in an alternate dimension, and I feel like I'm just very confused.
Floaty, like removed from reality.
Yeah, and then if my calcium gets too high, I end up in the hospital vomiting aggressively until my level goes back down. Like, it's just, neither, like, that stuff doesn't happen very often, but it's the fear of it happening that sort of is going to linger over me for the rest of my life.
The anxiety of it, because you don't have anything to regulate your body anymore. It's up to you. Like, that puts... in some senses, it gives you control, because you know what you have to do and what you're looking for. In the other sense, you don't have your most basic system regulating for you, and there's additional pressure on you where you can't always know what to do. You know what I mean? Until your level gets too high, you won't know that it's high.
Right. And so I have to get frequent blood work, but as far as the calcium levels, those are regulated by not to get too technical, but like the parathyroids that are attached to the thyroid. I still have those, but because the thyroid is removed, there's injury to those. And so they don't work as properly. So it's sort of a balance of figuring out when my body wants to work through those and when it doesn't, and trying to keep my levels balanced. It's a balance. It's just everything about recovery is it's a long process, and one that definitely gets easier with time, but it's always there, and it's something that you have to just sort of learn to live with and be okay with, in a way, and just keep pushing through.
Right.
But the interesting thing is so as of October 7th of 2021, I am cancer free and I'm still in remission. That was, I believe, 4 days before our premiere of Dopesick in Richmond. So that was a wild sort of thing that, like, I came home from filming. I got diagnosed pretty soon after that, and then I went through this whole process, this whole, in and out of the hospital, treatments, whatever, and then boom, like, I'm cancer free. Okay, it's time to, like, get in a car and, like, go to another state for a premiere
Right.
of this show, my first big show that's, like, gonna be, like, all
Recognized,
over.
right.
Yeah. And so it was this sort of, like, very surreal moment that it was happening in such a, like, time frame that was so specific, but it was also, like, I don't think I fully processed everything that happened to me during the year. And so whenever the show came out, it sort of, that was my distraction for a while. And then after that, sort of the busyness surrounding the show sort of died down, I had to deal with more of the mental effects of the cancer that I still had not fully dealt with. And I think it's important to note that process is never ending. You can still enjoy life and be you and do what you want to do and still be healing. Like,
Right.
It's okay to, like, not be okay. That's so cliche, but it's like, it's really, you can take the time that you need to heal and not feel guilty about it. Like,
Right. Yeah.
you can be, like, you should allow yourself to feel and to not feel whatever it takes for you in each moment to heal. Like, do that and don't feel guilty about it.
I think that's really good advice for people who are going with something or going through something that's outside of their control. It's so easy to look to social media or just like look to like the people around you in your friend group and like try to match the highs and lows that everyone's experiencing. And like emotionally, that's so draining and like non-serving for us because you're essentially like hiding a portion of you that you don't need to, like, and my sister says that to me all the time. That's interesting. Like, it's okay if I feel however I feel. Like, if you feel angry, be angry, just like it's just having a good support system around you who's accepting of that, and they don't feel like their worth or relationship is strained because of how you're feeling.
Right. And I've been blessed with a very, very positive support group, like, through everything that I've been through. And that's very important, making sure you're surrounding yourself with the right people. And I think going through something like that, you also really learn who the true friends are, like,
Definitely.
I think that, yeah, the people that stick with you through that, I think are really, really valuable. And it's a lot. Like, you sort of have to deal with the guilt of putting them through that, even though you're the one that's experiencing the physical pain. Like, everything that they went through, like putting them through that, putting your family and your friends through that experience with you mentally is, there can be some guilt that comes along with that. But it's like, you just have to keep pushing.
Right.
And you
and
just
trust them,
yeah,
that if they stay in your life, it's
yeah,
not like they're going to hold it against you.
right. And I think another important thing is, like, I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with an elderly woman who had just been like declared cancer free as well. And I found it very interesting when she was talking to me that she felt like her experience was almost less heartbreaking than mine, because she, you know, talked about how she had already lived a good life, and I was so young when I was diagnosed and stuff. And then I've had other people tell me, like, oh, my problems are nothing compared to, like, what you've been through. But the biggest thing that I learned from all of it is actually the opposite of that. Like, regardless of your age, your experiences, your pain, whether you feel like it's big or small, whether it's physical or emotional, whether it seems worse or better than somebody else's problems, like, your pain, if it's painful to you, if it's important to you, it's important.
Agreed.
It's painful. It's valid. Like, you have to allow yourself the grace to allow yourself the same grace that you give to other people. And that's a thing that I've really struggled with, but I'm working on.
Right.
But I think that's very important. And also not feeling guilty about feeling sad or angry or not feeling those things when you feel like you should be feeling those things.
Right.
I've had to work on allowing myself to do the things that I tell other people to do.
Don't you love that? I'm so good at that too. Come to me for advice. I'm like Socrates. Like, I'll give you the best advice that you've ever even heard of. You ask me if I'm taking that advice. Probably not.
That's why you have a podcast.
Right. It's not really for me. I'm self-developing all of you listening. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm here for you, and I'm providing entertainment. Just kidding. I always do self-development and whatever. But we can't end the episode on a heavy note. So, like, we've given people, like, insight into Dopesick. We've talked about your life. We've talked about how the hell you overcame everything that you have and some of the most important things to have in your life, like some of the essentials when people are around. But, like, let's talk about someone in your life. I want to know about your boyfriend. I want to know how you guys met. Like, Give me the tea.
Okay, so his name is Chad, and we're long distance. We're both, like, from North Carolina, but, you know, I travel a lot, and even in North Carolina, we're about 3.5 hours apart. So no matter where we are, we're long distance. So it's like, it's been a journey, but we've, let's see, April of 2020 is when we started talking, I think. So it's been a hot minute. We're
That's
at, like,
3 years, baby.
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, say that out loud. It's 2023 now.
Yeah, man, I keep forgetting it's 2023. So that was, we met through, funny story. So he went to college in Wilmington, which is where my acting studio is. So he graduated from UNC Wilmington. So we had a lot of mutual friends. Like, we knew the same people. We were always in the same area. We never met each other. Like, we would literally be, like, we could pinpoint times when we were in the same building and did not meet each other.
So weird.
Yeah, and so we, like, through social media, like, he had connected with me because he saw I was friends with, like, another actor from Wilmington that he knew, and so he, like, connected with me through Instagram, and we just sort of, like, developed, like, being friends, and
flirty.
It got to that at some point, but so he's 25.
Okay.
And I'm 21. So but his birthday is a little sooner than mine. So he's a little over 4 years older than me.
Okay.
So at the time when we first started talking, I didn't think he liked me because I was younger than him. I was obviously of age. I was of age.
Everyone listening, don't fucking come for her.
Yeah. Or don't come for him.
Yeah, don't come for him. This is not Dane Cook situation. Moving on.
I was of age, but I was younger than him, so I didn't think he liked me. But you know, then it started getting a little flirty, and then, like, we eventually met up, and, you know, fell in love and all that cute stuff, whatever.
Love.
And yeah, he's great. This is our little bracelet. It's got his initials and my initials, and I wear it every day.
You guys are so cute. I hope that he listens to this and like here's his little shout out. Love that.
Yeah. Shout out Chad. He's the best.
I almost called him Chaz. I'm glad you said his name. Shout out Chad.
Yeah, he hates his name. Chad is because everybody's like,
the Brads and Chads.
Yeah, it's like he's a Chad. Chad is not a Chad. He's not your typical Chad. But that is his name, and he doesn't like it. So if that is any consolation.
How funny would it be if for Halloween you guys dressed up as a Chad and a Karen? You know what I mean? Like, imagine if your name was Karen. You guys would be kind of like a nightmare couple.
I think about that sometimes. Like, I feel so bad for people with the name Karen. Like, it's not a bad name. It's a pretty name. But like, they get a bad rap.
They do. They really do get a bad rap. Wait, so I have on here that you're Gen Z because I'm older than you. I'm 27. So. Okay. Like, one of my funniest things is when my nieces and nephews like shit on me or like tell me something that's like so cringe that millennials do. So I want to feel like I'm in the scoop. Can you tell me and share with us like what's something cringe that millennials do so that I can likely stop doing it? Okay,
so I'm sort of bridging. I'm assuming I'm older than your nieces and nephews, so I'm sort of bridging the gap between.
Actually, you're kind of like. Yes, you're like 2 years older, so not by much.
Oh, okay. So we're all sort of okay.
Yeah, you're kind of the same age.
The only like thing I can think of is people updating their relationship status on Facebook.
Oh my God.
I've never understood that. Like what?
Oh my God. Well, what if, like, what do you mean you don't understand it? What if, like, someone goes to, like, what if they can't find your Instagram because you're private, okay? So they're looking at your Facebook, and they're like, oh, Alayna is single. I'm going to slide into her DMs.
Right.
Like, what are your thoughts on that?
This is why you're a millennial, right?
Right, 100%. Because if I can't find you, I'm coming for any social media, like, I can find you on.
Yeah, that's fair. But, I mean, I think just post a photo with your significant other. You don't have to.
That is so funny.
Status. Like, and then, like, Snapchat filters, I think, should stay off of Facebook. Like, maybe on the Facebook story or something, but like, if you're taking an old snap and you got like one of those like filters, like
Agreed.
Heavy filters that you can like, it's purposeful. You want people to know there's a filter there. Maybe don't.
Maybe don't use Facebook. Like I'm getting that message. Like maybe just like stay off Facebook. Everybody stay off Facebook.
No, I can't say that because that's the only thing like the people my mom's age in my town use to like keep up with me. So, we gotta
throw them a bone every now and then.
We got a nice little community going on my mom's Facebook page. So, shout out Rebecca.
Nature.
Yeah. Haven't seen that in ages.
So, what are you, like, do you have any projects next? We'll end with this. Like, do you have anything planned that you're in or excited about or anything you just want to plug towards the end of the episode?
Yes. Okay. So, well, first of all, I'd like to plug my friends. So, all the jewelry I have, most of the jewelry I have, like, means something. So, this is my bracelet with Chad. This is a Morse code bracelet that his sister gave to me.
Ooh.
And it's beautiful badass. That's like the Morse code.
Oh my God, I love it.
I know. She gave it to me for Christmas, and I love it. This is my JJA ring. So this is like me and my cousins, Jaden and Jordan. We're like super close. We always have been, and then we got like really close when I went through everything when I was 19. And I love them so much. So we all have a matching ring that we wear every day. And then this is a handcuff ring. Me and my best friend in the entire world, Alex, we met on set of Law and Order. So we got handcuff rings.
I love that.
We wear it every day. Yeah. So,
oh my God, that's so cute. I just got like a full-blown tour of your hands. I love it.
I know. So yeah, so Alex and I met on set of Law and Order, and that's one thing that I want to plug. Watch. I'm sure everybody's seen Law and Order, but if you want to watch season 22. I think it's season 22 that just came out. I
The
play
latest
daughter.
season.
Yes. I play the daughter of the lead Detective Cosgrove, and yeah, so that's been fun, little New York experience.
I'm so excited. I'm a Law and Order buff. Dun, dun,
Really?
dun, dun, dun. Yes, like I grew up with the theme song. Like I